In the outer square of the Qingyang sect, one of the four supreme overlords of the Qinglindo domain, an electric tension gripped the air. The sect, spanning millions of miles and home to countless cultivators, was supposed to be holding a routine talent test for its outer disciples. Yet, an extraordinary spectacle had unfolded in the skies above. Several high-ranking figures stood locked in a fierce standoff, their expressions dark with fury. The intensity between them crackled like lightning, an unseen storm brewing just beneath the surface. Among the awestruck onlookers, hushed whispers spread like wildfire. "The pressure is suffocating," one disciple murmured, beads of sweat forming on his brow. "Who would have thought the peak masters themselves would appear out of nowhere?" another marveled. But the true source of everyone's astonishment was a single name, Jiang Chen, a young man who, just moments ago, had been nothing more than an overlooked laborer. And now, in a stunning twist of fate, he had become the object of a fierce struggle among the mighty nascent Soul Peak Masters, each vying to take him as their personal disciple. What no one knew, however, was that Jiang Chen was not of this world. A transmigrator in an unfamiliar land, he had arrived at this talent test as a mere menial worker. Yet, against all odds, his latent potential had been revealed to be of divine grade, a talent so rare it defied comprehension. In the blink of an eye, he had gone from an insignificant existence to the most coveted individual in the sect. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "A divine-grade talent," a girl whispered, her voice trembling with disbelief. "This is like ascending from the dirt to the heavens in a single step," a young man muttered in awe. But while the entire sect was abuzz with excitement, Jiang Chen himself was on the verge of panic. Sweat poured down his face as he frantically pleaded with the elders to stop their quarrel, convinced there had been some kind of mistake. To understand how things had reached this point, we must turn back time. 18 years ago, Jiang Chen was reborn into this world. His mother had hoped he would grow into a well-behaved and dutiful son. Yet, from the moment he realized his new reality, Jiang Chen had been filled with frustration. Reincarnation? A fresh start? None of it thrilled him. The thought of building his life from the ground up in a cultivation world filled him with both impatience and ambition. He had read enough web novels to know what kind of legendary existence he wanted to become, a peerless slayer of demons, a cultivator standing at the peak. But reality was far crueler than fiction. From the moment he attempted to train, disaster followed him like a shadow. Insects bit him during meditation, food nearly choked him, and bizarre accidents left him bruised and battered. Fate seemed determined to thwart him at every turn. One particularly soul-crushing moment had occurred when a treasure of unimaginable value appeared right at his feet, radiating countless colors and emitting the ethereal chimes of the great Tao. Yet, before he could even reach out, the treasure's overwhelming pressure pinned him to the ground. Helpless, he watched as another fortunate cultivator effortlessly claimed it. It wasn't the first time. Over the years, Jiang Chen had come across countless miraculous opportunities, only to be utterly incapable of seizing them. It was as if he had been cursed to witness greatness from the sidelines while remaining forever powerless. Eventually, he stopped trying. Hope had long since abandoned him, until, against all expectations, fate granted him a single, miraculous chance. Out of nearly 100,000 menial workers, he was chosen as an outer disciple, one among the few hundred who had defied the odds. For the first time in 18 years, Jiang Chen allowed himself to hope. Was this it? Had his misfortunes finally come to an end? The day of the talent test was supposed to be Jiang Chen's turning point. Instead, it became yet another disaster. When his turn arrived, he placed his hand on the talent stone, anticipation tightening his chest. But nothing happened. No light, no reaction, just an eerie, suffocating silence. The elder overseeing the test barely spared him a glance. "Step aside," he said. "There's a long line behind you." Panic surged through Jiang Chen. He begged for another chance, convinced that some external force, the wind, bad timing, or sheer misfortune, had interfered. But the elder, who had presided over talent assessments for 1,000 years, had never encountered someone with results this abysmal. With a dismissive shake of his head, he marked Jiang Chen as unqualified. Jiang Chen felt his world crumble. He had resigned himself to failure when, ding, a faint sound echoed from the stone. For a split second, Jiang Chen wondered if it was a system notification. Not that it mattered. His so-called system, if one could even call it that, was utterly useless. It only confirmed what he already knew. His luck was catastrophically bad. Frustrated, He clenched his fist and pressed harder against the stone, as if sheer willpower could change his fate. Crack, then shatter. The talent stone, an artifact forged from meteorite iron by a mystical-grade master, an object nearly indestructible even to foundation-stage cultivators, split apart like fragile glass. A stunned silence fell over the crowd. Murmurs rippled through the candidates. Did he just break it? Because he failed? What happens now? How will we continue testing? Isn't this a crime? He might be jailed for this. Or worse, forced into menial labor for life. Jiang Chen's mind spiraled. He imagined himself shackled in a dark, damp cell, spiderwebs collecting around him as he rotted away in obscurity. Given his luck, he felt certain this was his fate. No way. He definitely didn't want to be that kind of protagonist. The elder, staring at the shattered remnants of the stone, looked more astonished than angry. In 1,000 years, he muttered, this stone has never broken. Still caught up in his panic, Jiang Chen blurted out, I don't want to go to jail. But instead of sentencing him, the elder turned to him with an entirely different proposition. Do you want to become my disciple? Jiang Chen froze. His thoughts screeched to a halt. Nearby candidates gasped. One of them spoke up, voice tinged with disbelief. Elder, why would you accept someone like him? Jiang Chen had the same question. Hadn't he just failed spectacularly? Hadn't he been prepared for a life of punishment? The elder's gaze grew intense. According to ancient records, the talent stone has broken only once before, 10,000 years ago. Silence settled over the square. Back then, the stone failed because it couldn't withstand someone's overwhelming potential. That individual was deemed divine grade and became an unparalleled genius. He was taken as a direct disciple, his fate destined for greatness. Jiang Chen swallowed hard. That sounded nothing like him. Speculation spread through the crowd. Some say that genius ascended to the immortal realm, one candidate whispered. Others believe he was struck down by a forbidden thunder tribulation, perishing without hope of reincarnation, another added grimly. Jiang Chen refused to believe he was being compared to someone so legendary. This had to be some cosmic mistake. But the elder had already made up his mind. He studied Jiang Chen with burning determination. For centuries, he had been stuck at the third layer of the golden core stage, unable to break through. His time was running out. But if Jiang Chen truly possessed divine-grade talent, then he was the elder's last chance, his one path toward immortality. Not even the sect leader would dare challenge such an opportunity. Follow me, the elder commanded. His voice rang with finality. You are the first divine-grade talent in 10,000 years. If you become my disciple, I will devote all my resources to your growth. Jiang Chen could only stare. From outcast to the most coveted disciple in the sect, all in the span of moments. How had things come to this? The crowd stood frozen in shock, their minds reeling. Was Jiang truly a divine-grade talent? Did he bear a resemblance to that ancient monster from legend? Jiang, drenched in exhaustion, waved off their awestruck gazes. The stone shattered because of my bad luck, nothing more, he protested, desperate for them to stop branding him as something he wasn't. He firmly rejected the elder's guidance, fearing that with so many resources at his disposal, failure would only bring the elder's wrath upon him. Then, without warning, the sky darkened. A storm of lightning erupted, crackling with divine fury. The elder's breath hitched as he watched the chaotic spectacle. A heavenly phenomenon focused solely on him, he murmured in disbelief. For a fleeting moment, an unsettling thought crossed his mind. Could Jiang's potential exceed even that of the ancient prodigy? And was this lightning not a sign of his greatness, but rather a warning against his own greed? A solemn realization struck him. I am unworthy to be his master, he whispered under his breath. Yet Jiang, despite his growing unease, silently rejected the notion. The murmurs among the crowd grew louder. Was this truly a divine-grade manifestation? Could Jiang's talent surpass the known limits? Jiang, however, felt nothing but dread. This misunderstanding was bound to spiral out of control, and with his wretched luck, it could spell disaster. Before he could gather his thoughts, the familiar mechanical voice of the unlucky system echoed in his mind. Ding! Bad omen detected. The system's chilling revelation sent shivers down his spine. You do not belong in this world. You dare step onto the path of cultivation. It continued, its tone laced with finality. Your bad luck has reached its peak, summoning a sea of lightning. This is not a heavenly blessing, it is punishment. Jiang's blood ran cold. The system's next words crushed any lingering hope. You are cursed. A curse so absolute that even immortals cannot lift it. Terror gripped him. His curse ensured that any spiritual energy he cultivated would dissipate the moment it entered his body. His very existence defied the natural order. If he couldn't cultivate, what was the purpose of being in this world? Was he doomed from the start? The lightning storm intensified, crackling with an overwhelming force. Jiang's horror deepened as a bolt of destructive lightning tore through the sky, hurtling straight toward him. The elder gasped. This is divine punishment. His voice trembled. What in the heavens has befallen this boy? Pain lanced through Jiang's body. His meridians screamed in agony, the curse wreaking havoc within him. His vision blurred. Was this how he would die? A victim of misfortune, shattered before his journey even began? A bitter thought surfaced. This feels like the plot of a comedy manhwa where the protagonist's bad luck never ends. As his consciousness faded, a profound despair took hold. His cultivation potential was slipping away. The heavens were far more ruthless than he had ever imagined. Yet, even as Jiang resigned himself to fate, the elder remained steadfast in his belief. No, he muttered, watching the spectacle unfold. His potential, it surpasses even the divine grade. Then, as if defying the will of the heavens themselves, the system's voice returned. Ding! Unlucky host detected. Reversal in progress. Jiang's body shuddered. The lightning that should have destroyed him was instead rejuvenating him. His attributes surged. His shattered meridians repaired themselves. The destructive energy dissipated, leaving behind an unprecedented vitality coursing through his veins. The thunder that had descended to erase him had instead reforged him. What should have been his downfall had become an unfathomable blessing. Jiang stood there dumbfounded. How had this dire situation turned into an advantage? The system delivered its final revelation. Your dantian has been restored. A surge of spiritual energy flooded into his core, converging within him like a rushing tide. His meridians pulsed with newfound strength. However, your curse has intensified. It has now doubled in power. Yet so have your attributes. You are invincible. Jiang blinked, his mind racing to process the absurdity. His greatest misfortune had somehow become his greatest strength. The system notified Jiang that he had successfully reached the first stage of qi refinement. With the curse of the heavenly Tao now reversed, every aspect of his cultivation was amplified to an unprecedented degree. Observing the phenomenon, an elder marveled at the sheer intensity of spiritual energy surging into Jiang's body. He remarked that such an influx was a testament to the brilliance of guiding qi into one's physique. More astonishingly, he noted how the thunder, granted by the heavenly Tao, was tempering Jiang's muscles, a miraculous feat beyond comprehension. Before Jiang could fully grasp the situation, the system reported another breakthrough. He had swiftly advanced to the second stage of qi refinement, then the middle stage, and finally, the peak. Stunned, Jiang speculated that his cultivation was progressing in reverse. Unlike conventional cultivators who meticulously absorbed spiritual energy, he realized that he only required something akin to poison gas or the power of thunder to disperse the energy and reinforce his body. A thought crossed his mind. Could he still trigger the curse to further amplify his power? According to the principles of reverse cultivation, the greater the injury, the stronger the enhancement. What once seemed like a cruel affliction now revealed itself as a potential boon. Considering this newfound revelation, Jiang entertained a reckless idea, provoking golden core or nascent soul cultivators, destroying their cultivation, and forcing them to retaliate, thus accelerating his own growth. However, the system promptly issued a warning. While the curse's effects were formidable, it required time to activate. If Jiang were to die instantly, there would be no chance for the curse to take effect. Frustrated, Jiang realized the risk was too high. His plan was not as foolproof as he had hoped. Meanwhile, the elder, exhilarated by Jiang's rapid progress, speculated that the Qingyang sect might produce an immortal within the next 1,000 years. He envisioned the sect rising to dominance, unrivaled by any of the 4 overlords of the Qinglindo domain. Jiang, however, found the assumption absurd. The belief that he was a divine-grade talent was nothing more than a gross misunderstanding. Despite Jiang's reluctance to accept him as a master, the elder reassured him that the sect would provide him with vast resources and treasures. From now on, drinking from spiritual springs and feasting on the flesh of fierce beasts would be a common occurrence for Jiang. However, instead of feeling grateful, Jiang felt a deep sense of dread. The elder's unwavering faith in his potential meant he would be showered with resources. Resources that would inevitably draw endless calamities his way. As Jiang struggled to find a way to refuse, the heavens answered for him. Another thunder serpent descended from above, its sheer might intent on obliterating him. The devastating strike nearly tore him apart. His body lay in ruin, yet the system delivered an astonishing update. Despite the catastrophic damage, the curse had strengthened, increasing his physical strength by +20. Moreover, his cultivation surged to the 4th stage of qi refinement, though the powerful thunder had forcibly dissipated 10 strands of his spiritual energy. Jiang lay there, reflecting on the paradox of cultivation. It was both torment and ecstasy, each ruthless strike propelling him to new heights. A ridiculous thought crept into his mind. At this rate, was he becoming a masochist? Meanwhile, sect disciples whispered among themselves, unable to believe what they were witnessing. It had taken them years to reach the 1st stage of qi refinement, yet Jiang had ascended through multiple stages in mere moments. Could he truly be a divine-grade genius? Or was something unnatural at play? Jiang felt the urgent need to dispel these rumors. If left unchecked, they would only invite more trouble, forcing him to consume vast quantities of spiritual pills just to maintain appearances. Why did people keep labeling him a talent? At that moment, the elders shifted the conversation, directing everyone's attention to Elder Tian Shan, one of the 30 peak masters and a 3rd-level nascent soul cultivator. Tian Shan assessed Jiang with a keen eye and declared that such an unforeseen prodigy was a sign of great prosperity for the Qingyang sect. He insisted that guiding this remarkable talent required a mentor of nascent soul caliber, someone like himself. As a token of goodwill, Tian Shan granted Jiang unrestricted access to peak-level spiritual treasures until he formally joined the sect. He even suggested that Jiang establish himself as a true disciple, with an entire peak's resources at his disposal. Furthermore, he promised to lay an unparalleled foundation for Jiang's next realm, ensuring his path to immortality. However, instead of excitement, Jiang felt only mounting pressure. The thought of unlimited cultivation resources was tempting, yet the dangers his cursed status posed could not be ignored. Bowing respectfully, Jiang apologized to Master Tian Shan, explaining that his cultivation path remained uncertain. Accepting a master now would be premature. Gasps of shock rippled through the gathered cultivators. Was Jiang in his right mind? He had just turned down both a golden core elder and a nascent soul master. Determined not to be molded into a monster, Jiang resolved to rely solely on the heaven's curse to ascend. Tian Shan, feeling slighted, narrowed his eyes. "Do you deem me unworthy to guide you?" he asked, his tone calm yet laced with underlying pressure. If Jiang found him inadequate, perhaps his own master, Taoist Tian Yang, should be summoned instead. Jiang quickly tried to explain, but before he could, another voice cut through the air. It was Peak Master Ziyun. Ziyun scoffed, claiming that his peak's overall strength far surpassed Tian Shan's. With mastery over the path of thunder, he believed his tutelage would benefit Jiang more than any other. To further entice him, Ziyun offered top-grade elixirs from his peak, proudly boasting that several of his elders had attained perfect refinement. The competition for Jiang's allegiance only escalated. A female master soon joined the fray, smirking as she noted how even Elder Ziyun wished to claim Jiang as a disciple. She speculated that yet another peak master might appear at any moment. Jiang, now completely overwhelmed, wondered why they kept coming one after another. Then, a new arrival stunned the gathering. An old witch-like peak master made her entrance, her voice dripping with amusement. Unlike the others, she did not immediately press Jiang to join. Instead, she made an unusual offer. Should he choose her sect, he could select one of her 3,000 female disciples as his cultivation companion. Jiang barely had time to react when yet another peak master arrived, glaring at the witch with open disdain. "Trying to tempt our disciples with beauty, are you?" he sneered. "Perhaps your true goal is to deceive them." This new master exuded overwhelming power. "I am invincible within the nascent soul stage," he declared. "For 3,000 years, I have cultivated the way of thunder, infused with the very essence of the Thunder Sea." Jiang could only stare, his mind a chaotic mess. How had things spiraled so absurdly out of control? He assured Jiang that his future achievements within the Thunder sect would far surpass even his own. Meanwhile, Jiang found himself wondering why powerful figures kept appearing one after another, vying for his mentorship. She scoffed, remarking that relying solely on talent was no different from brute force. It lacked finesse and true understanding. Unlike her, seductive and captivating, he could never wield charm as a weapon. With a teasing smirk, he asked if he should resort to using his beauty to bewitch others instead. He went on, mocking her divine status. Her entry into the Jade Maiden Peak, surrounded by 3,000 enchanting women, would be nothing short of a tragic waste. Tian Shan interjected, his voice resolute. No one can train a disciple better than I can. Let's end this pointless debate. Ziyun, however, countered with his own credentials. I began cultivation at the age of 3, reached the first stage of qi refinement by 10, and built my foundation by 16. At 24, I ascended to the golden core stage and was granted the title of elder. With unwavering confidence, he declared, Jiang will choose me. Anything else would be a loss. The spectators gasped, unable to believe what they were witnessing. Elders and peak masters fiercely competing for a single disciple. Jiang, caught in the center of the storm, felt the weight of countless expectant gazes pressing down on him. As the commotion escalated, Jiang finally spoke. Elders, peak masters, I urge you to stop this endless bickering. A golden core elder shook his head in disbelief. So many powerful figures were clashing over Jiang. It was unheard of. He had once entertained the idea of competing for the disciple himself, but the sheer difference in their strength made him abandon the thought. Meanwhile, the other test candidates murmured among themselves, their frustration evident. They had yet to complete their trials, but with a heavenly talent like Jiang present, no one paid them any mind. Every peak master in attendance was focused solely on securing him. Jiang reflected on the situation. Had this happened in the past, he would have been ecstatic. But now he saw the burden it carried. The more intense the competition grew, the more problems it would bring. He didn't even consider himself a true genius. If this continued, it would only invite unnecessary complications. He resolved to step back, focusing on his cultivation rather than getting entangled in their power struggle. Just as he adopted an ostrich-like approach, waiting for the next lightning strike to strike him, the very balance of nature shifted. A powerful presence descended upon them, sending a ripple through the air. Li Chongqing, the Qingyang sect leader, had arrived. Jiang and the 4 peak masters fell into stunned silence. With an air of authority, the sect leader surveyed the scene. As leaders of the Qingyang sect, entrusted with overseeing one of the 36 peaks, your petty arguments in the outer sect square are disgraceful. The peak masters quickly bowed their heads in apology. An old witch scoffed. Fighting? Hardly. We were merely discussing the best way to nurture a heavenly talent. Tian Shan sneered. And what qualifies you to decide that? The sect leader raised a hand, silencing them. I understand your enthusiasm in taking Jiang as a disciple, but let's be clear. Heavenly talents are exceedingly rare. Mere nascent souls are ill-equipped to guide such a prodigy. He turned to the peak masters. Do you disagree? They remained silent. With a knowing smile, he continued. Then let me be clear. I am the most suited to mentor Jiang. Unlike you, I can truly connect with the younger generation. I have even bested those at the deity transformation stage, and I am still in my prime. The peak masters barely concealed their frustration, forcing polite smiles. Jiang, who had initially believed the sect leader had arrived to restore order, now realized with growing dismay that he too had joined the fray. The old witch chuckled darkly. Zhengzhou's incidents suggest your guidance tends to lead to chaos. Tian Shan crossed his arms. The sect's future depends on raising a leader, not just a powerful warrior. The sect leader listened, but remained steadfast. A talent like Jiang, who appears once in 10,000 years, must not be restricted by nascent souls. If he does not rise in the Tianyu realm or ascend to the immortal realm, it is the Qingyang sect that will bear the shame. The Golden Core Elder took a step forward. Then let me bear that shame. The sect leader dismissed him with a wave. No, I will take full responsibility for Jiang, regardless of the outcome. His tone grew sharper. Does anyone object? The peak masters exchanged glances but ultimately remained silent. Turning to Jiang, the sect leader's voice softened. Jiang, are you willing to become my disciple? I will personally oversee your training and match the resources offered by the other peak masters. Upon reaching the deity transformation stage, I will even ensure you receive a heavenly spiritual weapon. Jiang hesitated. If his true cultivation level, merely at the 4th stage of qi refinement, was revealed, the sect leader might discard him. Worse, consuming excessive resources might cause his progress to backfire. To navigate this precarious situation, Jiang took a deep breath. "I have 3 conditions," he stated firmly. The sect leader, eager to secure him, chuckled. 3. I would grant you 30 if needed. Jiang's first condition was simple yet bold. "You must acknowledge that I am neither a heavenly talent nor a genius. My achievements may be modest. How would you react then?" The sect leader raised a brow, then swore to the heavens. "Even if your cultivation is entirely wasted, no one will dare harm you." He assumed Jiang was merely being humble, but he agreed regardless. Jiang's second condition followed. "You must swear a heavenly oath that I will never be discarded. I will gather all my own resources and refuse any spiritual medicine from you." The sect leader narrowed his eyes. This condition was unusual, but he remained unfazed. Jiang, however, was already contemplating his next move. The sect leader interprets Jiang's decision as a desire to rely solely on his own efforts, which in turn might make him seem like an indifferent master. However, he ultimately accepts it, reasoning that Jiang wishes to forge his own path without unnecessary intervention. Resolving to focus on his own cultivation and the many enemies lurking in Zhongzhou, the sect leader reminds himself that while a master can guide the way, the journey itself must be undertaken by the disciple. For his third and final condition, Jiang demands that the sect leader make a solemn oath to heaven and earth, ensuring the fulfillment of all his promises. As the Qingyang sect leader studies Jiang Chan's unwavering expression, a mix of curiosity and caution flashes across his face. He questions whether Jiang truly wants him to take such an official vow. Without hesitation, Jiang nods, making it clear that only after the oath is sworn will he acknowledge the sect leader as his master. A heavy silence follows. The sect leader pauses, weighing the gravity of this request. What if Jiang's cultivation stagnates in the future? How will he discipline a disciple he cannot reprimand? The memories of his own harsh training resurface. How his master had beaten him relentlessly, making him doubt his own resolve. If he swears this oath, does it mean he can never scold or punish Jiang? Worse still, what if the heavens strike him down for making such a vow? Yet, despite his reservations, he realizes that securing Jiang as his disciple is paramount. If Jiang truly possesses the potential he suspects, he could be the one to inherit the sect's leadership, allowing the burden to be passed on at last. With a firm resolve, the sect leader agrees to all of Jiang's conditions. Standing tall, he makes a solemn vow before heaven and earth, swearing never to force Jiang to consume elixirs and never to abandon him, even if his cultivation stagnates or is crippled. Jiang exhales, a sense of relief washing over him. With the oath made, he feels secure, knowing his life is now protected under the weight of this heavenly promise. Satisfied, the sect leader steps forward and declares that Jiang Chen will now be the Qingyang sect's young sect leader, effectively making him the heir. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. The peak masters exchange glances, stunned by the announcement. The implications are clear. Jiang Chan's status within the sect has risen overnight. Suddenly, a familiar chime echoes in Jiang's mind, and a system notification appears. A sense of foreboding grips him. These messages never bring good news. The notification reads, "The heavens have been alarmed by the sect leader's oath." Initially, they prepared to unleash a 10,000-mile sea of lightning, but they hesitated. However, realizing their oversight, the heavens have now dispatched the spirit of lightning to deliver divine retribution. The full might of the lightning tribulation is preparing to strike. Jiang's blood runs cold. The system continues. "Congratulations. You have made history. Never before has a cultivator in the Qi refinement realm invoked a heavenly tribulation. Prepare yourself." A chill races down Jiang's spine. Did he just trigger a tribulation simply because the sect leader swore an oath? If the 10,000-mile lightning sea truly descends, will he even survive? His body tenses. He feels powerless against the heavens themselves, but deep within, an unyielding resolve ignites. He will not surrender. If the heavens wish to strike him down, he will defy them. Thunder rumbles ominously. The spectators gaze skyward, bewildered by the unnatural storm brewing above. Jiang, however, is determined to shatter all limits, willing to defy even the will of the heavens if necessary. The peak masters, observing in stunned disbelief, can feel the overwhelming aura of destruction emanating from him. Elder Xian steps forward, his brows furrowing as he observes the crackling energy. "This is no ordinary celestial phenomenon," he mutters. "This is a true lightning tribulation." The sect leader's expression darkens. A heavenly tribulation? But Jiang is only at the 4th layer of chi refinement. Impossible. Tribulations of this scale were reserved for those at the Golden Core realm, not mere chi refinement cultivators. One of the Golden Core elders speaks up, his voice laced with awe. "The heavens and earth have deemed Jiang's talent so extraordinary that they have descended divine judgment upon him. This is unheard of." The moment the words leave his lips, a bolt of lightning crashes down. Pain erupts through Jiang's body. It feels as if every fiber of his being is being ripped apart, his bones shattering under the sheer force. His consciousness wavers, darkness threatening to consume him. But then something miraculous happens. His body begins to mend itself, regenerating at an incredible speed. Not only does he heal, but he feels stronger, far stronger than before. The system chimes again. You have endured the ultimate lightning tribulation while still in the chi refinement realm. Your meridians have been shattered and reforged, your body nearly destroyed and reborn. Your physical strength has skyrocketed to 500 kilograms, and your spiritual energy has recondensed to 5 times its previous amount. Your cultivation has surged, breaking through to the 5th layer of chi refinement. Jiang gasps, his body buzzing with newfound power. He has reached the peak physical limit for his realm. If he can endure another 10 rounds of this, could he break through to the 9th layer in an instant? The realization sends a thrill through him. Only a handful of cultivators in the entire Tianyu world have ever achieved such rapid progress. From the sidelines, the Golden Core Elder watches in stunned disbelief. This can't be right. The tribulation should have destroyed him, not strengthened him. The sect leader shares in the shock, recalling his own near-death experience while overcoming his deity transformation tribulation. He had barely survived, and yet, Jiang seems to be thriving in the face of divine retribution. Dark clouds churn overhead, but the lightning grows weaker. The tribulation nears its end. The heavens have tested Jiang, and he has not only endured but emerged stronger than ever. As the final bolt of lightning fades, Jiang stands tall, his eyes burning with newfound determination. If the heavens refuse to acknowledge his existence, then he will force them to. No longer just a mere disciple, Jiang Chen is now a force to be reckoned with. Jiang's cultivation growth begins to slow, a clear indication that the tribulation is nearing its end. His physical strength has doubled, now reaching a staggering 1,000 kilograms, while his cultivation soars to the 7th layer of the chi refinement realm. As he reflects on the nature of lightning tribulations, a thought crosses his mind. If they are all like this, they will hardly be an obstacle on his path to immortality. To the onlookers, his potential appears limitless. The peak masters, witnessing his defiance in the face of heavenly punishment, are left in awe. Jiang stands tall, unshaken, challenging the very will of the heavens without the slightest trace of fear. But such arrogance does not go unnoticed. The peak masters exchange wary glances. Has Jiang forgotten who is behind these trials? As if in response, the heavens stir in fury. The skies darken, and a storm begins to brew, crackling with ominous energy. The previous bolts of lightning were merely warnings. Now the heavens prepare to unleash their full wrath, intent on erasing Jiang from existence. Above, the sky twists into an apocalyptic scene. Lightning serpents slither through the clouds, converging into a colossal, terrifying sea of lightning that seems almost unreal. From below, the peak masters stare in disbelief, struggling to comprehend the magnitude of what is unfolding. Even the sect leader, his voice tinged with both awe and trepidation, admits that there has never been a precedent for such an event. His expression darkens as he speculates that this lightning tribulation may have transformed into something far worse, a lightning spirit, an entity embodying the pure essence of the lightning Tao. And that is a grim omen. Recognizing the imminent danger, the sect leader wastes no time, issuing urgent orders. Golden Core Elder, evacuate the menial disciples immediately. His voice booms across the sect. One of the most formidable figures within the sect, the old witch, steps forward, her expression grim. Many so-called geniuses have perished before such a calamity, she murmurs. Their bodies destroyed, their Tao extinguished, mere cautionary tales left in their wake. Regret flickers in the sect leader's eyes. Never did he expect Jiang to provoke a tribulation of such catastrophic scale. He knew the boy was talented, monstrous even, but this defied all logic. Fortune had smiled upon the sect when Jiang was accepted as a disciple, but now, that same prodigy stood at death's door, alone against the heavens. The sect leader clenches his fists, torn between admiration and anger. How could Jiang possibly survive this? Meanwhile, Jiang, though exhilarated moments ago, now finds himself overwhelmed. The pressure is suffocating, the danger unimaginable. The heavens are done playing. Now they seek to destroy him. Above the Qingyang sect, the sky is torn asunder by a raging sea of lightning, its ominous glow bathing the entire sect in an eerie light. A murderous aura fills the air, thick with a sense of impending doom. The sheer scale of the tribulation, now a living entity, instills fear into the hearts of every disciple bearing witness to this nightmare. Word of the event spreads like wildfire, racing through the outer square and beyond. In mere moments, every disciple, outer, inner, and even the direct disciples, has heard the news. Jiang Chen, a name now etched into legend. From an outer disciple to a prodigy who shattered the talent stone during his evaluation, his rise has been nothing short of extraordinary. It was an elder who declared him to possess divine talent, a rarity among rarities. Ever since, the sect has been abuzz with his name, and today, his fame reaches an entirely new height. Even the sect leader himself once sought to recruit him personally, an unprecedented move. Amidst the spectators, a junior brother watches the chaos unfold, unable to resist a smirk. A bit of a dramatic character, don't you think? He muses. The sect leader practically bowed to recruit him, after all. Sure, Jiang Chen might have divine talent, but at the end of the day, he's still just at the qi refinement stage. Far from unbeatable. Nearby, Li Chongqing, the sect leader, remains silent, his gaze contemplative. Who among the elders would truly want to take Jiang as a disciple? A junior sister chimes in, her voice laced with skepticism. Divine talent is impressive, sure, but it isn't everything. A powerful innate body constitution matters far more. She gestures toward the sect's renowned prodigy. Take senior brother Shen Feng, for instance. His Yinming body grants him control over the very forces of Yin. If that junior brother of yours wanted to challenge Jiang Chen, he wouldn't be at much of a disadvantage. Her tone turns casual. He's at the peak of the foundation establishment stage, and he's already fought against golden core rogue cultivators. No big deal. She grins, continuing. If Shen Feng becomes sect master, the masses will definitely support him. The junior brother, not missing a beat, counters. Shen Feng is strong, sure, but he's nothing compared to our eldest senior sister. His confidence is unwavering. She spent the last 2 years completely immersed in cultivation, mastering the ancient immortal inheritance through miraculous methods. Once she breaks through to the golden core stage, she'll be unstoppable. He leans back, smug. She joined the Qingyang sect just 5 years ago, but in that short time, she's skyrocketed from the 3rd layer of qi refinement to the foundation establishment great completion. Now, she's on the verge of stepping into the golden core realm. Despite her meteoric rise, he remains unconcerned about Jiang. Jiang might have divine talent, but he's still only at the 4th level of qi refinement, he scoffs. He's got no chance of competing for the sect master's position. The junior sister nods in agreement. Talent means nothing without experience and wisdom, she says coolly. In the junior brother's mind, plans are already forming. He will challenge Jiang publicly, humiliate him, and remind everyone that raw talent alone is not enough to rule the sect. Jiang Chen might be the name on everyone's lips now, but the junior brother intends to make sure that won't last. Not if he has anything to say about it. Ah, the joys of rivalry. Meanwhile, Mu Rongling, the eldest sister, stands as the great disciple of the Qingyang sect. After 5 years of cultivation, she remains at the foundation stage, a level that, in her eyes, is barely a fraction of her true potential. The spiritual energy in this world is far too thin for her liking. In her previous life, Mu Rongling had ascended to the realm of a great emperor, an existence akin to the immortals of the Tianyu world. But during a battle for world domination, she was ambushed by an old enemy. Despite her strength, she fell that day. Death should have been the end. Instead, she was reborn into this world as a mortal, stripped of her power, with no cultivation to her name. Talk about a downgrade. Yet, Mu Rongling refused to accept defeat. She clawed her way into the Qingyang sect, obtained the cultivation methods of the Tianyu world, and began the slow process of reclaiming her lost strength. Even now, her cultivation speed far surpasses ordinary cultivators, but to her, it's not nearly fast enough. If she had access to more resources, breaking through to the nascent soul stage would be a trivial matter. For now, her sights are set on the golden core stage. With that, she could compete for the title of sect master, the fastest way to accelerate her growth. After all, time is not on her side. Her true enemy isn't even from this world. Her thoughts are interrupted by the chime of her jade pendant. A transmission. A phenomenon had occurred during the outer sect examination, an unprecedented event. A young man, assessed to possess the legendary divine talent, had shaken the entire sect. The sect leader himself had rushed to take the boy as a disciple, and the elders had nearly come to blows over him. What's more, the sect leader had already appointed Jiang Chen as the young sect leader. Mu Rongling's eyes flicker with surprise. A junior brother already named young sect leader? She murmurs. Yet, instead of anger or jealousy, she simply dismisses the news. Her path is clear. Thanks to Masterly Chongqing, she has progressed this far, and if Jiang Chen were to falter, it would be a disgrace to their master. Besides, as his senior sister, she would have no trouble requesting resources from him when necessary. The title is insignificant, she tells herself, fully intent on continuing her cultivation in peace. Back in the Qingyang sect's outer square, unrest grips the elders as thunder tribulation rages on. A golden core elder turns to the sect leader, his voice edged with concern. Should we intervene? If we delay any longer, Jiang Chen may not survive this. Li Chongqing, the sect leader, does not hesitate. His voice is firm. Jiang Chen is the future of the Qingyang sect. Nothing can happen to him. The elder nods grimly. The wrath of the tribulation must be faced, but we cannot afford to lose him. With a solemn expression, the sect leader turns to his fellow Taoists. Prepare for battle. At his command, an overwhelming sword formation materializes, shaking the very air. Even Master Xiyun is left stunned by the sheer power radiating from Li Chongqing. Jiang Chen watches in awe, realizing the sect leader truly lives up to his legend. He stands unfazed beneath the storm, exuding a dominance so absolute that even the lightning itself seems reluctant to strike. Yet, Jiang Chen knows the truth. This is his tribulation. His battle alone. Despite the thunder roaring above, despite the crackling energy threatening to shatter him, he steps forward. Let me face it alone, he declares. The sect leader hesitates, clearly reluctant. I am no ordinary divine talent, Jiang Chen continues. I have my own path. If I rely on others now, it will leave scars on my heart, wounds that will never heal. If I do not overcome this trial alone, it will haunt me forever. Silence. A heavy pause hangs in the air before the golden core elder speaks. If we intervene now, we may cripple his future potential. The weight of his words settles over the gathering. Some masters remain unconvinced. After all, Jiang Chen is only at the 4th level of the qi refining stage. How could he possibly withstand the wrath of the heavens? Still, after a long moment, the sect leader exhales. If Jiang Chen wishes to face this tribulation alone, I will not stop him. He sheaths his sword. But if his life is in danger, I will act. With that, Jiang Chen braces himself, determined to prove his strength. Jiang Chen had finally convinced the sect leader to let him face the tribulation alone. But as he stared up at the storm of fury churning above him, even he had to admit, it was absurd. This wasn't just any tribulation. This was a heavenly reckoning. A lightning bird screeched as bolts of pure destruction slithered through the sky, their intensity growing exponentially. The air was thick with crackling energy, the pressure so immense it threatened to crush him. Jiang Chuan's expression darkened. The heavens were truly enraged. Symbols of divine punishment had formed, their power palpable. A terrifying realization struck him. If anyone from the sect attempted to help, they would be swept into the destruction alongside him. He was completely alone. Tough luck. If, by some miracle, he survived this, his future tribulations, especially at the golden core stage, could escalate to an immortal level challenge. The price of defying fate. But then something changed. The sky twisted, shifting into something far worse. A new, overwhelming presence emerged within the sea of lightning. A celestial dragon's head materialized from the storm, its gaze cold and indifferent as it looked down upon the mortal world. Talk about a power move from the heavens. And it didn't stop there. To the west, the lightning condensed into a vicious white tiger, its body emanating pure murderous intent. Above, a black tortoise hovered lazily within the clouds. It looked drowsy, but there was nothing weak about the oppressive force it radiated. And finally, the vermilion bird. No longer the familiar symbol of fire and rebirth. Its form had sharpened into something far more menacing. The entire Qingyang sect was frozen in shock. Even the most powerful inner disciples could do nothing but stare. The elders, seasoned cultivators who had seen countless tribulations, stood pale and wordless. Even the sect leader, Li Chongqing, whose strength was unrivaled, felt his breath hitch. This wasn't just a tribulation. This was a catastrophe. The four divine beasts of heavenly punishment had manifested together. An omen of absolute destruction. If this isn't a bad day, what is? Jiang Chen, however, wasn't shocked so much as confused. How had things escalated so quickly? Zhang's system promptly alerted him. The heavens were furious. The situation had spiraled out of control because Li Chongqing and the elders had tried to intervene. Now, the four symbols of heavenly tribulation were fully unleashed, prepared to obliterate him within 30 breaths. If his body couldn't withstand the punishment, he would be annihilated instantly. His heavenly curse would be meaningless. His only hope was to dive straight into the heart of the tribulation, push his cultivation to the 8th layer of the qi refining stage, and fortify his body to endure a force of 1,500 kilograms. If he could break through to the 9th layer, his odds of survival would rise to 50%. Not great odds, but certainly better than zero. He couldn't help but wince at the irony. The sect leader had acted with good intentions, yet his interference had only made things worse. His master's attempt to help had, quite literally, doomed him. Meanwhile, the sect's four nascent soul masters watched the unfolding catastrophe in disbelief. What they were witnessing was unheard of. The four symbols of heavenly tribulation were reserved for those on the brink of ascension, those about to step into the realm of immortality. Yet Jiang was nothing more than a mere disciple at the qi refining stage. One of the masters even joked, "Did Jiang desecrate the heavens' ancestral graves in a past life?" Jiang himself had no answers. However, a chilling thought crossed his mind. Had the heavens discovered his true identity as a transmigrator? Normally, the intensity of a lightning tribulation matched one's cultivation level. However, any interference would only amplify its power. Could he even survive this? The four symbols had claimed the lives of countless prodigies, including those who had cultivated for thousands of years. Recognizing the imminent disaster, the sect leader acted immediately. Wake the old ancestor from seclusion. Activate the mountain protection array, he commanded, his voice sharp with urgency. The Qingyang sect had no choice but to prepare. Like it or not, they were now entangled in this tribulation. If they didn't act fast, Jiang wouldn't be the only one reduced to ashes. Everyone in the sect could perish. The masters transformed into streaks of divine light, streaking toward the 36 peaks, their mission clear. Awaken the secluded ancestors, even those hidden within the forbidden areas. Jiang clenched his fists. The tribulation had spiraled beyond his control. If this continued, the entire Qingyang sect would suffer for his sake. He couldn't allow that to happen. He had to take matters into his own hands. His priority was clear, reaching the 8th layer of the qi refining stage. Only then would he stand a real chance of survival. Summoning his resolve, Jiang turned to the sect leader with a bold proposal. Send me into the sky on a flying vessel. As long as I face the tribulation above the sect, no one else has to suffer. The sect leader refused outright. Jiang pressed on, his voice steady. If I confront the tribulation at its core, the sect won't be affected. I can handle this. His determination was unwavering. If he wanted to survive and grow stronger in this world, he had to seize this moment. The sect leader weighed the fate of millions within the Qingyang sect. It was an impossible choice. After a long silence, he reluctantly agreed. Before Jiang ascended, the sect leader handed him a jade pendant. If you're at your limit, shatter this. I'll intervene. He also gave Jiang a vial of spiritual water, a lifeline that could help him recover some spiritual power mid-battle. Jiang accepted them with gratitude, but the sect leader's expression remained solemn. I don't know how to defeat the four symbols, but if anything goes wrong, I will protect you with my life. Jiang's breath caught in his throat. For the first time, someone was willing to sacrifice themselves for him. In his past life, no one had ever done that. The sect leader's unwavering determination stirred something deep inside him, a warmth he hadn't felt in a long time, a sense of belonging. He looked the sect leader in the eye. That won't be necessary. If I reach the 9th layer, I have a 50% chance of surviving. That's good enough for me. With a heavy heart, The sect leader gave the order. The flying vessel shot into the sky, carrying Jiang toward the raging storm above. He stared at the chaos of lightning and divine wrath, his eyes resolute. No matter how terrifying this tribulation was, he would endure. This was his moment. With the reversal effect of his heavenly curse, he would prove himself, to the sect leader, to the Qingyang sect, and to the heavens themselves. It was time for Jiang Chen to carve his name into history. Meanwhile, back in the sect, a golden core elder turned to Li Chongqing, his face etched with concern. "Are you truly certain about this?" he asked. Sending Jiang into the heart of a four-symbol lightning tribulation. He's the sect's future. We can't just let him walk into death. He reminded Li Chongqing that many powerful forces in the Qinglindo domain had their eyes on them. There was still time to stop the flying vessel. "If he dies, our sect loses its future," the elder warned. "Jiang is the only one who can safeguard our inheritance." Li Chongqing, however, remained steadfast. "He won't die," he said firmly. "And I won't let him die either." Jiang was his disciple. Even if he hadn't personally taught him yet, the responsibility still fell on his shoulders. The nascent soul ancestors, observing from afar, whispered among themselves. Could Jiang really survive the four-symbol heavenly tribulation? Master Tianshan snorted. What a reckless brat. Does he really think he can overcome the heavens themselves? But as the first bolt of divine lightning crackled across the sky, even the most skeptical among them began to watch with bated breath. The tribulation had begun. He bellowed toward the ancient ancestors, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "Wake up! The Qingyang sect is on the brink of destruction." His urgent cry echoed across the sect. Deep within the forbidden grounds, long-dormant auras stirred, rippling through the heavens and earth. Across the Qinglindo domain, powerful cultivators sensed the disturbance. An elder furrowed his brow. "What is happening at the Qingyang sect?" he murmured. The resurgence of ancient energies puzzled them. Could it be that Li Chongqing was about to break through to the Grand Ascension realm? Were the old ancestors awakening to protect him? Determined to uncover the truth, an order was given: investigate immediately. Meanwhile, in various sects, other ancestors also felt the surge of energy. The unmistakable presence of the four great divine beasts sent ripples of speculation. Was someone undergoing heavenly tribulation? A cautious elder suggested sending a weak disciple to scout, just in case. At the Zhongzhou sect, an old ancestor observed the celestial phenomenon unfolding over the Qinglindo domain. The appearance of the four heavenly symbols piqued his interest. Could this be the work of an ancient cultivator who had mastered a lost inheritance? A smirk crossed his lips. If the new leader of the Qingyang sect ascends to immortality, things will become interesting. He recalled the ancient conquests, where factions clashed without unity. A single newly ascended immortal would be no match for their collective strength. The solution was simple: eliminate him and claim his inheritance. Yet a lingering doubt gnawed at him. Would the other old ancestors allow it? He had once been fearless, but the temptation of the inheritance was overwhelming. If the ancient sects were truly willing to discard outdated traditions, they needed this power. Otherwise, they were merely waiting for their own demise. Above the Qingyang sect, more than 10 cultivators emerged from the sky, their gazes locked onto the unfolding tribulation. Even the weakest among them was at the nascent soul stage. "What kind of tribulation is this?" one of them muttered, perplexed. They peered into the depths of the storm with their spiritual senses, attempting to decipher its origins, yet they found themselves bewildered. Then, an even greater shock struck them. "A chi refining stage cultivator?" someone blurted out. "Impossible. A mere chi refining cultivator has summoned a sea of lightning stretching across thousands of miles." A stunned silence followed. Was this a sign of a once-in-a-generation heavenly talent emerging from the Qingyang sect? The old witch narrowed her eyes. Has there ever been a precedent for something like this? Meanwhile, the leader of the Shantian sect acted swiftly. "Find out who that cultivator is," he commanded. "If he is this talented, he belongs in the Shantian sect." His expression darkened. He had no intention of letting his fellow Taoists look down on his sect any longer. Yet the old witch was more cautious. "Be wary," she warned. "No matter how powerful the tribulation appears, the boy is still in the chi refining stage. Are you certain he will even survive?" Some ancestors exchanged knowing glances. They had little faith that Jiang would endure. Far below, Jiang himself was writhing in agony. His meridians were shattered, his spiritual energy draining away like water through broken glass. But he had staked everything on this tribulation. There was no turning back. His vision blurred. His body was barely holding together. Then at that moment, a system notification appeared. Your meridians have been destroyed more than 3 times in rapid succession. An indestructible attribute has been generated. Jiang's breath hitched. The heavenly curse had doubled in strength, yet his spiritual energy flow had tripled. His cultivation surged to the 8th layer. Your body has reached its breaking point once again. Due to the curse, your foundation has strengthened further. Physical strength plus 250 kilograms. Every nerve in his body screamed in pain, his flesh and skin tearing apart, but amidst the torment, he saw a flicker of hope. The lightning tribulation wasn't just testing him, it was refining him. His meridians, once shattered, were now evolving, his spiritual energy recovering at an unprecedented rate. A manic grin spread across Jiang's face. "More," he roared internally. "Give me more." The system responded. The heavenly tribulation is still ongoing. The curse has intensified once again. His spiritual energy consumption skyrocketed 20-fold. In that instant, his cultivation broke through to the 9th layer. His physical strength now exceeded 1,500 kilograms. A warning flashed across his vision. The 4 symbols of heavenly tribulation will descend in 10 breaths. From a distance, Master Ziyun observed, stunned beyond words. "Unbelievable," he muttered. "He has survived without a single elixir or formation." Even Li Chongqing, one of the most powerful cultivators of his time, was shaken. He had never seen anything like this. The old witch's expression darkened. "Is he truly still in the qi refining stage?" she whispered. "What kind of divine talent is this?" Jiang was no longer simply enduring the tribulation. He was harnessing it, absorbing its power, using it as a stepping stone to ascend beyond mortal limits. The old witch's eyes gleamed with cold intent. If he lives, the Qingyang sect will dominate the Qinglindo domain within a century. Her lips curled into a smirk. "That cannot be allowed." With a voice as frigid as death itself, she declared, "Jiang must die. If the nascent soul ancestors did not act now, the Qingyang sect's power would become unstoppable." Without hesitation, she ordered the information to be relayed back to her sect immediately. Those who harbored grudges against the Qingyang sect saw this as the perfect moment to strike, secretly preparing to take action. Yet, not all were eager for battle. Some, fearing the tides of fate, considered seeking reconciliation, hoping to bury old enmities before it was too late. Above them, the heavens rumbled. A dragon of thunder and lightning coiled in the sky, fully awakened, while the other 3 divine beasts stirred ominously. The very fabric of the world seemed to resist the emergence of such an extraordinary talent. The old witch stood frozen, eyes wide with disbelief. She had assumed these divine beasts were mere blessings, the natural manifestation of thunder and lightning. But now the truth struck her like a bolt of divine punishment. This was not a blessing. It was a tribulation, a trial reserved only for those destined to ascend to immortality. Jiang Chen was no ordinary cultivator, and this was no ordinary trial. When an immortal-grade lightning tribulation descends, it is as if the heavens themselves decree one's fate. No force, no sect, not even the oldest of ancient powers, could hope to intervene. Should anyone from the Qingyang sect attempt to interfere, the consequences would be catastrophic. Their entire lineage, built over countless millennia, would crumble to dust. Some watched the brewing storm with glee, reveling in the impending disaster. Others, with no enmity toward the Qingyang sect, could only sigh in sorrow and regret. An old ancestor murmured in awe, "If Jiang survives this, his destiny is immortality itself." To provoke the heavens' jealousy at the mere qi refining stage, this is a phenomenon beyond comprehension. Yet, no one was prepared for what would happen next. Deep within the Qingyang sect's sacred grounds, ancient auras began to stir. Wisps of ethereal immortal mist drifted upward, causing an immense disturbance in the spiritual realm. Celestial cranes soared into the sky, their wings slicing through the mist, heralding the arrival of something beyond mortal understanding. Then, from the heart of the sect, they appeared, 3 indistinct figures standing atop the sacred gates of the Qingyang sect. Shrouded in divine mist, their flowing white robes billowed in an unseen wind. Their very presence radiated an overwhelming celestial force, as if they were not mere mortals, but beings of legend. The air around them thickened with divine energy, making it nearly suffocating to those who lacked sufficient cultivation. The Golden Core Elder, recognizing them instantly, bowed deeply. First, second, and third ancestors, he greeted with utmost reverence. The third ancestor was the first to speak. His voice, though calm, carried the weight of ancient wisdom. The four symbols tribulation. Its intensity is unlike anything we've seen before. The second ancestor, the azure Luan goddess, narrowed her eyes. Why would such a devastating tribulation befall a mere chi-refining cultivator? She extended her divine sense, and in that moment, detected something unusual. This level of thunder and lightning, could it be the work of a lightning spirit? The first ancestor, the pure Yang Sword Master, wasted no time. We must save Jiang, he declared firmly. His talent surpasses even heavenly grade. If it were not so, he would never have provoked such divine jealousy. He cast a disdainful glance at Li Chongqing, mocking his earlier efforts. You thought you could handle this alone? I'll personally set up the protective formation. If things spiral out of control, I'll ensure the sect's survival. However, beneath his selfless facade, the first ancestor had his own ambitions. Seeing Zhang's unparalleled potential, he had already decided he would take the young prodigy as his disciple. By demonstrating his power now, he was certain Jiang would be drawn to him. But he wasn't the only one with such thoughts. The second and third ancestors exchanged knowing looks. They could see right through the first ancestor's intentions. The third ancestor smirked. Setting up the formation? More like setting yourself up to claim all the credit and take Jiang as your disciple, The second ancestor, though more reserved, gave a small nod. We can't let him monopolize this opportunity, she murmured. Without hesitation, they both stepped forward to assist. Meanwhile, the Golden Core Elder debated whether to inform Jiang of the three ancestors' arrival. But after a brief moment of contemplation, he dismissed the thought. The sect leader had already accepted Jiang as his disciple, and revealing that now might not end well, especially with the three ancestors involved. High above the Qingyang sect, the skies twisted and warped as intricate formation patterns began to spread, their golden lines crackling with boundless spiritual energy. A vast surge of divine power funneled into the heavens, pushing against the storm. The first ancestor took his position at the core of the mountain protection formation. Li Chongqing, step aside, he commanded. This tribulation will annihilate anyone below my level. From now on, Jiang is under my protection. Li Chongqing clenched his fists, his teeth grinding in frustration. But against the first ancestor's authority, he could do nothing. The second ancestor, her expression unreadable, made her own move. This tribulation, it's being influenced. I am almost certain that a lightning spirit is behind it, she observed, urging caution. Both the first and third ancestors were taken aback. To their surprise, behind her, spiritual energy gathered, forming the faint but majestic image of an azure Luan, its wings stretching wide across the sky. Not to be outdone, the third ancestor smirked and stepped forward. With his lightning-absorbing physique, Jiang is perfectly attuned to the Thunder Tao. That makes him more suited to be my disciple than either of yours. The great powers observing from afar were stunned. Even they did not expect the legendary ancestors of the Qingyang sect to emerge, let alone fight over a single disciple. Meanwhile, Li Chongqing wrestled with his dilemma. Should he tell the ancestors that he had already taken Jiang as his disciple? No, the risk was too great. If he spoke now, his life might be the next thing the heavens claimed. He silently made up his mind. After Zhang's tribulation, he would seek seclusion to cultivate, hoping to reach the grand ascension stage before the sect's internal power struggle consumed him. Above them all, the wrath of the heavens only grew. The sea of lightning churned violently, reacting with increasing rage to those who dared interfere. Thunder roared with the might of celestial fury, yet the tribulation, bound by cosmic law, remained within the limits of a foundation-stage cultivator's endurance. But Jiang Chen was already at his limit. Blood dripped from his lips. His body trembled uncontrollably. As he gazed upward at the endless torrents of divine punishment, his vision blurred. The storm's power was still growing, and for the first time, true despair crept into his heart. Could he truly survive this? How did it become so powerful? Jiang wondered, his heart pounding. A system notification suddenly flashed before him. Warning: the tribulation has intensified due to interference from the Qingyang sect's three ancestors. Their meddling had drawn the attention of the lightning spirit, escalating the tribulation's fury. His survival rate had plummeted from 60% to a mere 30%. Even worse, if he failed, the ancestors themselves would be dragged into his doom. Jiang clenched his fists. They turned my life-or-death battle into something even more perilous. Frustration surged within him as he silently pleaded for them to stop. But of course they couldn't hear his thoughts. The first ancestor, undeterred, exuded unwavering confidence. "Leave it to me. Just watch and learn." With a single motion, he unleashed the Yang Godsword technique, the Qingyang sect's most revered legacy. His sword, infused with the purest Yang energy, seemed to fuse heaven and earth itself. Every slash cleansed the world, capable of cutting down even the vilest of evils. Yet, Jiang felt a chill creep up his spine. The tribulation's dragon, it was growing. It swelled larger and larger, its sheer presence suffocating. The weight of countless mountains bore down from the sky, pressing against Jiang's chest. He struggled for air. This wasn't just an ordinary tribulation anymore. This was something far beyond his comprehension. The heavens trembled. The storm raged, surging with ever-increasing intensity. Even the first ancestor, despite his strength, felt its overwhelming force pressing down on him. Lightning crackled violently. Jiang stood at the center of it all, knowing that one wrong step wouldn't just mean his death, but the end of everything the Qingyang sect had built. The power of the true dragon was immeasurable. Jiang couldn't move. He was frozen, trapped in absolute terror. Yet, the other masters dismissed it entirely. "It's just a tribulation for a mere chi-refining cultivator," one of them muttered, as if the monstrous display before them was nothing more than a passing storm. But the first ancestor knew better. His expression darkened. "That dim-witted dragon. It erased my blazing yang completely," he growled. The tribulation was supposed to be within his realm of control, but its strength was evolving, rapidly. Unfazed, he unsheathed his long sword once more. A storm of razor-sharp sword rays erupted forth, tearing through space itself, leaving fractures in reality. The true dragon's spirit let out a furious roar. It wasn't just enduring the attacks, it was thriving on them. The thunder essence surged, feeding its wrath, amplifying its strength. With each passing moment, the battle pushed closer to an immortal-level heavenly tribulation. Jiang stood at the eye of the storm, watching in both awe and horror. The first ancestor fought with relentless ferocity, but second ancestor's unease grew. "Isn't he making things worse?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. If this continued, the tribulation would fully evolve into an immortal-level trial. Her worry deepened. "First ancestor, fall back," she urged. But it was already too late. A sea of lightning descended. Each bolt crackled with boundless divine power, carrying the wrath of the heavens themselves. The first ancestor's escape was blocked. The true dragon's spirit coiled around him, sealing his fate. Jiang's blood ran cold. He finally understood why the system had warned him. The three ancestors had sealed their own doom. A new system notification materialized before him. First ancestor is in grave danger. The constant provocation has enraged the source of the Thunder Tao. Tribulation's strength increased. Survival rate dropped to 20%. Jiang's breath hitched. He was only at the peak of chi refining, yet the lightning strikes carried the force of a Foundation establishment cultivator's final tribulation. Some bolts even rivaled the destructive might of a false core stage expert. There was only one way to survive. He had to break through. Now, with no time to hesitate, Jiang made a reckless, desperate choice. He shattered his dantian. A curse, long dormant within him, ignited. He gambled everything. By allowing the tribulation to invade his body, he sought to drain away his spiritual energy, forcing his breakthrough into the Foundation establishment stage. The soul ancestors observing from afar watched in disbelief. Has he lost his mind? Jiang plunged deeper into the storm. He had to expel the tribulation energy, but it wasn't that simple. This was no longer just a Foundation establishment tribulation. It was now a golden core tribulation, a force capable of eradicating even false core stage experts. A lightning bolt pierced through him. His dantian crumbled. His organs ruptured. His body began to decay. A brutal system notification appeared. 86 meridians destroyed. Indestructible dantian critically damaged. This wasn't just any tribulation. It had ascended beyond mortal understanding. Another notification followed. Curse effect activated. Repairing body. Spiritual energy recovery rate doubled. Even as his body collapsed, the curse worked to rebuild him. Jiang hovered between life and death, caught in the balance of destruction and rebirth. Jiang's cultivation had ascended to the quasi-Foundation establishment realm, his strength now reaching a formidable 2,000 kilograms. But that was only the beginning. As his power surged, the first ancestor remained bound by the true dragon spirit, utterly powerless to interfere with Jiang's tribulation. Suddenly, a deafening roar echoed across the heavens. The white tiger spirit had awakened. Its cry shook both earth and sky, and from above, bolts of lightning in the shape of ferocious tigers crashed down. Each strike carried the great Tao of Jianjin, an overwhelming aura of slaughter and destruction filling the air. Even a golden core elder trembled at the sheer force descending upon Jiang. "This is no ordinary lightning tribulation. This is true catastrophe," he muttered, watching helplessly as the first ancestor remained ensnared by the dragon's spirit, unable to intervene. Then Li Chongqing stepped forward, his sword gleaming in his grip. "I will protect him," he declared, eyes locked on the storm above. A brilliant streak of divine light tore through the sky, a cold and blinding radiance that shattered the incoming lightning, scattering it into countless fragments. Most of the energy dispersed into the void, but a single, residual surge struck Zhang head-on. Agony. Zhang was sent reeling as his consciousness wavered, his life force rapidly slipping away. The Jianjin murderous energy had pierced straight through him, his body nearly torn apart. His heart's faint beat was the only proof that he still clung to life. Then came the dreaded system notification. "Warning! Your body is withering. Your dantian is shattered. Your meridians are severed. Your spiritual energy is rapidly depleting." Despair gripped him, but in that moment, the curse activated. A surge of power flooded his broken body, amplifying the healing process fivefold. His shattered dantian, sundered meridians, and failing flesh were reborn, stronger than ever. Zhang gasped in disbelief. Not only had he survived, his dantian had become even tougher than before. He could feel the surging spiritual energy within him, far more potent than anything he had known. The system chimed once more. "Trait acquired, Nirvana. You have died and been reborn. From now on, each time you experience death, you will return stronger." A surge of energy exploded outward, forming a barrier that dispersed the remaining lightning. As the system confirmed his breakthrough to the Foundation Establishment realm, his strength soared to 3,000 kilograms. Zhang clenched his fists, awed by the transformation. This so-called heavenly curse. It's the perfect gift for someone like me. He made a mental note to thank the sect leader, who had unknowingly saved him at the most crucial moment. No matter what, Zhang swore he would repay this debt. Meanwhile, Li Chongqing observed him with sharp eyes. Strange. His body was destroyed, yet now it's completely restored. And he's broken through to the Foundation Establishment realm. He could only hope that his disciple would endure the tribulations yet to come. As Li Chongqing swung his sword, fending off the relentless attacks of the white tiger spirit, shadowy figures watched from afar, plotting. Master Xian smirked, his eyes gleaming with malice. Li Chongqing is courting death. For the sake of an untested prodigy, two powerful figures have already fallen. The Qingyang sect is doomed, or at the very least, severely crippled. Another master gave a swift command. "Return to the mountain gate. Gather the troops. We will carve up the Qingyang sect's resources." But before they could act, a sight shattered their expectations. Zhang, now fully restored, was riding a flying vessel straight into the heart of the tribulation, heading directly for the white tiger spirit. The onlookers froze in disbelief. Has he gone insane?
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to contribute further, you can now buy me a coffee. Every little bit helps in creating more quality content for you. Just click the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description below. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video.